$2,100 in fines, because my professionally trained K9 barked once, during a thunderstorm. My name's Eli. I've been training police dogs for over 12 years. German Shepherds, Malinois, even a few labs. Discipline is what I do for a living. So when the HOA at Willow Ridge accused me of harboring a nuisance animal, I knew something didn't add up. I moved here 6 months ago, lured by the quiet cul-de-sac and a yard big enough for my 2 dogs to stretch out in. Coda, my senior shepherd, and Rhea, a fresh graduate from a tactical K9 program. The first warning came hand-delivered, an envelope taped to my front door, flapping in the wind like a threat. Noise violation, $250 fine. Further offenses will incur escalating penalties. I stared at it. Confused. Coda barely barked anymore, arthritis. And Rhea? She only barked on command or under duress. I checked my ring cam that night. Nothing but thunder. One sharp bark at 2:11 a.m., then silence. But they weren't done. The next week, I found flyers posted near the mailbox kiosk, HOA protects peace, no room for problem pets. My house was circled in red ink like a criminal map. I ripped one down, heart pounding. Who the hell was behind this? Neighbors I'd waved at now avoided eye contact. A mom across the street tugged her kid away when we walked by. It was a whisper campaign, coordinated and cruel. Then came the emergency board meeting. I wasn't invited, but Derek, the guy 2 doors down, texted me, "Dude, they're talking about banning attack dogs." I showed up anyway. The board president, Darlene Mayfield, nearly choked on her words when I entered the clubhouse. "Residents only," she said, adjusting her pearls like armor. "I am a resident," I replied. That's when she smiled, just a little too wide. Knowledge nugget number 1, in most states, HOAs must give homeowners proper notice and allow attendance at board meetings, especially when discussing new rules. I filed a formal dispute the next day, attaching Rhea's certification paperwork, the noise logs, and a statement from Officer Nunez, her handler during training. They responded with a $600 escalation and a letter that felt like a trap. "Your dog presents a perceived threat to community safety. Rehome or remove." That phrase, perceived threat, burned in my brain. I started digging. Turns out Darlene's son had applied to the local sheriff's department K9 unit, and washed out. Twice. Rhea's name? Still on their active roster. Coincidence? Maybe. But then I found something buried in the HOA bylaws, a clause allowing the board to evict animals whose behavior or training may be incompatible with community living. Not actual behavior. Not evidence. Perception. I wasn't the only one. An older couple 2 streets over had their therapy dog removed after a neighbor claimed it barked telepathically. No joke. Something deeper was going on. So I pulled the HOA's recent financials. Buried under security upgrades was a $19,500 payout to a private firm, Silver Veil Consulting. Except it wasn't a security firm. It was a lobbying group specializing in nuisance ordinances and community zoning leverage. Guess whose signature was on the hiring order? Darlene Mayfield. She wasn't just enforcing rules, she was manufacturing them, then profiting from the chaos she created. Knowledge nugget number 2, some HOA board members abuse conflict of interest loopholes by hiring firms they or family members own. Always check financial disclosures. That's when I called in reinforcements. One of my former trainees, now with Homeland Security, pointed me to a clause in the Fair Housing Act: pets aiding with mental wellness, especially those trained for PTSD response, cannot be denied without due process. So I filed a federal ADA complaint. I also reported Silver Veil to the state licensing board. Turns out they'd operated without a valid business permit for 8 months. Then I got loud. I posted clips of Rhea performing crowd control simulations on TikTok. "This is the threat my HOA wants gone," I captioned. The video hit 1.7 million views in 2 days. Screenshot this clause and tag a friend who needs HOA armor. Any board action restricting animal ownership must comply with federal ADA and fair housing standards under 24 CFR Section 100.204. Suddenly, emails from the HOA stopped. Their website went dark. Then the bombshell dropped. A uniformed officer knocked on my door one evening. Not to take my dog, but to interview me. Apparently, another resident, a quiet man named Leonard, had filed a harassment claim. His service dog, a retired bomb sniffer, had disappeared after racking up similar fines. Leonard suspected foul play. He heard rumors that the HOA was coordinating with animal control and falsifying complaints. The officer leaned in. "We're investigating possible conspiracy to defraud." Silver Vale was under federal scrutiny. Darlene? Nowhere to be seen. The final showdown came in the form of a subpoena. I was called as a witness. In court, I presented logs, training footage, and testimony from officers who'd worked with Rhea. The judge turned to the HOA's counsel. "Do you have any evidence of aggression?" "No, Your Honor. Only the perception of unease from several residents." The judge scoffed. "You find a decorated service dog based on neighborhood vibes?" Case dismissed. Fines revoked. HOA ordered to revise its entire pet ordinance, under legal supervision. Knowledge nugget number 3, court precedent, C. Henschel v. HOA, 2013, states that subjective discomfort is not legal grounds for punitive action against ADA-compliant service animals. Afterward, neighbors started speaking up. Leonard's dog was found, alive, housed illegally at a shelter 30 miles away. He filed a civil suit. Darlene resigned 2 weeks later, citing health concerns. The HOA board reformed. I was asked to serve, but declined. I had other plans. With help from some local officers and dog trainers, we launched a community K9 education program, training dogs for veterans and first responders, free of charge. Funny how fast a villain can crumble when truth is louder than lies. But even villains leave souvenirs. Last week, I got an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a photograph, Rhea, in my front yard, taken from a long-lens camera. And one line, handwritten on the back. Not everyone forgets. Next week, the city council that tried to seize a solar farm, and the man who wired it to explode if they did.